you?
Good. How are you? I haven't talked to you in forever.
Hi, Dana.
Hey, I was like, okay, I'm making sure I'm doing this right.
Hi, Andrea.
Hello.
So first of all, I will say hi, hello, everyone watching. I have these lovely ladies with me, Andrea, Dana, and Lindsey. And I'm going to let you guys say hi, and I want to hear how you're doing because I haven't talked to you guys in a long time. So, yeah, just how are you guys doing? Andrea, how are you?
Well, I am doing okay. Gonna be honest, I'm having some challenges with work, so that's been a little difficult and frustrating, and stressful. But other than that, I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Yes.
I'm doing good. I actually, my husband, he came over and he woke me up. He woke me up like an hour ago because I was sleepy. And he's like, I had to work overnight, and he came home and he's like, aren't you gonna do something like tonight? I go, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. He's like, I'm gonna go to the neighbors. He's like, I'll be back later. I'm like, okay. So he's like, he's next door. But I was like, oh, thank you for getting me up. Night shift problems, man.
Oh man, I know I could stay up for a night.
Yeah.
How I'd handle the next day, it would be rough.
I used to work night shift. I don't miss it.
Did you work? Because you were a nurse, right?
Yeah, I'm a nurse. Yeah, I was a nurse on night shift. I worked ICU and medical.
Yeah.
It was not fun.
ICU also. I bet that was.
Yeah, it was.
Was that busy overnight most or during the day?
Overnight it was a little bit more hectic for the nurses because that's when we gave all our admitted patients baths. So that was fun. It was more work. I mean, less traffic and less people in, but more work for the nurses. But,
yeah. Oh man.
When I was a mental health tech, I had like third shift, so I was working till like 7 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
Working overnight. That was not easy.
No.
Yeah.
And now you think back, you're like, how did I do that?
Exactly.
I think the craziest shift I ever have done was in retail, and I only did it one time. And I worked till, I can't remember what time I started, but I worked till like 3 or 4 on Black Friday. Got home. No, I didn't even go home. I met my friends and shopped. And then I think I got home at like 6 or 7 and crashed.
I did retail for a while too, and Black Friday. Oh my goodness. I worked those. I am so thankful I don't have to work those again.
Yeah. I do not work Black Friday during retail. So how are you, Lindsey?
Good. Just busy with work. And then, like I told you earlier, I got a referral to KU. So I will be meeting the surgeon next week about my heart. So, and
that's
thank you, Andrea, for your
exciting.
insight. So, yeah.
You got a referral to KU?
I'm going Wednesday.
Okay.
So.
Do you know who you're gonna see or?
So I did Dr. Mulhern, the one that you told me about. I sent my information over there, and they referred me to the surgeon, and it's Dr. Albright or something like that.
Okay.
He's the one I'm going to be meeting.
It's a good clinic. It's a good clinic.
Is it? Good.
Yes.
I'm nervous.
I don't blame you. I do not blame you. But you're in good hands. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
Have you guys talked before? I knew Dana and Lindsey did.
I know. I was going to say the same thing.
I totally thought you had, and now I think I'm wrong. So
Just
Andrea-
recently I got to connect with Lindsey, and we were
Okay,
talking about, because I have a coarctation and I have another issue, and she was wanting some advice, and so I was talking to her about my experience. So
That's
Wow.
awesome.
Okay.
mhm.
I love that.
Yeah,
Yes. Very helpful.
yeah,
So I'm excited.
it-
Nervous, but excited.
yeah.
No
Mhm.
better example of why I love being in the community than that.
That is real truth. Yep. Mhm.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
what day do you go see them, Lindsay?
Wednesday.
Okay, I'll be praying.
Keep us posted. Let us know how that goes.
I will. I
Yeah.
will. Because they said my how do I say it? The narrowing is now a 0.5. And then they said pressures in my heart, normal pressures are like in the 10s and mine were in the 90s. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I remember going through testing and them trying to figure out where I was at. And I'm very fortunate that they haven't had to do anything intervene yet. So keeping my fingers crossed, but I know I'm in good hands if they have to do something. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that in and
I
of
was
itself is such a blessing.
Yeah. I know when I got my echo just a couple weeks ago, they're like, this is your heart is boring. Or he literally said boring. I'm like, okay, so we want boring. I'm like, yeah.
yeah,
That's how I
boring's
feel
good.
too. I'm like I should be excited for boring. I need to remind myself to be excited for boring, because anytime
Yeah.
something not boring happens, I'm always freaked out and stressed, and that's not fun.
Yeah, when I did my heart cath, he goes, it was impressive, but not in a good way.
Oh.
Mm.
I told Lindsay I go out. I told her I'd go with her if she wanted
Yeah.
for
You'll
support.
probably have to come and take care of me, Dana. You can be my aid. I'm be down and out for a while if I have surgery.
Well, yeah, let us know so we can support
I
you.
will.
Yeah,
Need it.
absolutely.
So that's what our community is for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why anytime somebody is like nervous to like reach out to people, I always point out those times when I've been able to reach out to somebody, and like I can't imagine doing some of the stuff that we've gone through without having that ability.
Oh, definitely.
So, well, I'm really excited. I'm so excited that we're doing this. This is
I
going to be
know.
like the first group chat. This isn't really like the formal ones that I think are going to come later, but I'm
Mhm.
just really excited. So
Yeah.
I don't have a specific plan. The biggest thought in my head was wrapping up Awareness Month. I feel like sharing what the theme, I'm obsessed with the Awareness Month theme every year. They've been really great. So I'm always really excited. And kind of what that feels like to you guys, and how this year's Awareness Month has been for you. Has there been anything that's stood out? Is there anything you do during Awareness Month? I don't know. I thought it'd be fun. So if anybody has any thoughts on, like, the theme is Turner Strong, which I love.
Oh,
So
I love that.
speaking of like Lindsay going to the doctor and everything, like I feel like those are examples of Turner Strong to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, can I just to that say cheers to Turner
Yes.
Strong
Yes.
and show you guys
Cheers.
and theme
Aw.
of- yes,
Cheers.
yes, and the theme of I have to really show you guys this.
Oh my
Um,
gosh,
in
that's
the theme
cute.
of TS awareness. I had to bring this out so I can enjoy my Coke Zero and my butterfly cup.
That's
I love it.
adorable.
Yes.
I love that. I know ever since I found out it was a butterfly, I now
Oh.
love stuff with butterflies.
Mhm.
just means so
Yes.
much more.
Yeah.
So what is Turner's syndrome? Well, I want to say Turner's strong, but it's technically Turner's strong, I guess. What does that mean to you guys? What does that say to you? Do you have any moments that stick out in your mind?
Well, with me, it means community. You know what I mean? And the importance of like all butterflies, you know, getting together and staying together.
Yeah.
You know, Brooke and Lindsay. We have some guests.
It would be fun to like be able to like rent like a RV or something and just be able to tour around and like actually go to cities to like meet other TS sisters.
That would be
I
really
wanted
fun.
to do like a tour. Like that would be fun.
That would be really cool. Me and
Mhm.
Andrew were talking about if we had had the money, this would have been a perfect time to like renovate an RV and travel.
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
there's enough open that you can do that and you would get to see so much more.
Mhm.
That would be so fun.
Yeah. Would be fun at some point to do that, but then, you know, after kids might be a project to do that. So we'd have to see about then, but I feel like this awareness month went by way too fast.
Yes,
One second it was here and now we're 4 days, no, not even 2 days away from from the last day. So
It's crazy.
time is flying. Has there been anything specific that's happened this year that stuck out to you guys? I know there wasn't all of the normal, like I feel like there's usually a walk planned and stuff like that, but
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen a ton online. The one thing I did see, technology kind of got in the way and wasn't cooperative, but I don't know. I think the biggest thing within the awareness month that I've seen was the TSUS was posting different people's stories, which was really cool.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, you could submit a picture in your story and they were doing
Yeah.
posts to share.
Mhm.
There was also, which is interesting, a news coverage of one girl's story. Did you guys see that?
I saw you your YouTube video about it the other day. So I went and watched it because I hadn't seen it yet. And I have mixed feelings about that.
Is this the
'cause
video
I kind of was feeling similar to how you were like talking about it because I'm really excited that there was coverage about it, but I'm not sure I'm totally like I don't know on how they covered it. Not sure that I'm totally there, but you know, I also feel like I guess a little bit like, you know, being able to bring some kind of awareness is a good thing. So I didn't want to totally dog it. But at the same time, I was a little bit like, really? Because especially the title, I mean, that
Like,
was
it was something you
very,
can catch. Yeah, like it's something you can catch. Watch out, all women, watch out. It's deadly.
Yeah, I did not know what to think. I was sitting in my car. I just got my Starbucks, and then I seen Brooke post that, and I'm like, oh, okay. And she's like, don't look at the comments. You're gonna look at the comments.
and I had to look at the comments. I did. I was like, okay, I got to see these
I gotta
comments.
see.
You
And
guys,
I went and I looked at them. I'm like, girl.
Oh man. Just
I
like
phone.
Brooke says, oh man.
I know.
mean,
I was like, some of them,
literally,
I'm like, oh my
I-
goodness.
I didn't look the first time I watched it. And then I went back, that post randomly showed up and I saw comments popping up underneath it. So I looked and somebody was like, don't read the comments or the comments are awful. And I'm like, okay, well now
I
you
gotta read it.
me and I have to. So
Yeah, the wheels fell off of that kind of like quick status.
It
Yeah.
did. Oh my goodness.
that title killed me.
Yeah, and
yeah,
then they were
that's
talking about she just fell over screaming in pain and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, crap, that don't happen to me.
I know. Gosh. So
But I remember her story because I think didn't it happen like last year? I mean, I remember I think even around uh, awareness month last year, weren't they bringing attention to her story? I'm trying to think, when did it happen?
I didn't
I remember,
recognize her name. I
yeah,
Mm-mm.
did recognize her though. So
yeah,
maybe I heard the story without hearing the name.
yeah. I mean, I definitely remember her story. When I went and watched it, I was like, oh yeah, I know that they're talking about it, but I mean, that's one of the things that scared me. Was just thinking about that exact same thing happening to
Yeah.
me. Thankfully it didn't, but it could have.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Just I'm very interested to hear your guys' thoughts because that was, oh man. I sat there for a few minutes. I had to just breathe.
I did too.
Mhm. Yeah.
It went just way. I didn't, yeah, the comment, I was like, they're not even talking about the actual, like I said, it derailed. They went way off topic, not even talking about the video
Like, what does this
anymore.
have anything to do with?
It had nothing to do with the special, the new special.
No,
Mm-mm,
no. And you could
mm-mm.
tell some of the stuff they were saying was just like they were just hoping to shock somebody or
Mhm.
get somebody
Yeah.
to, out of being upset, respond. But
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
under a video titled that's saying something about you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If you're gonna comment like that under a video titled that.
Yeah.
So yeah, was there anything, so I know I shared mine. Is there anything you guys specifically would have wanted added to that video that I didn't mention? Like, was there anything that really stuck out to you that it was missing?
Oh,
I
a
just, it was
lot.
like congenital and they were born with it. And, you know, it goes along with this disease and it's not something you can catch. I mean, it kind of made it sound like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that my biggest thing was they made it sound like it just randomly happened
Right.
and they didn't already know she had it, and that I don't know, and that was the only thing that was a complication of it too. There wasn't anything
Yeah.
else mentioned.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I feel like there could have been an opportunity to try and give a little more education about it and not be so, I don't know, hyperbolic or just so like, I mean, because what happened was obviously serious and that needed to be treated as such. But at the same time, like somebody watching it that doesn't know much about Turner syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
you want to try and like, do you want to just hair on fire, like, oh my gosh, this thing, you could catch it or it can kill you? And
yeah,
I mean,
That was not a good representation at all.
can we
Or
like maybe try and bring a little education to the people that aren't familiar with it a
Yeah.
little more than what they
Mhm.
were, than what I felt like it accomplished.
adding
Mhm.
a little context to the story they're telling.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, could you imagine a parent that just found out their daughter had Turner's watching that?
Oh
Yeah.
geez. Oh my gosh.
I'd be horrified.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And that'd be on top of whatever the doctor said,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is already scary.
Mhm.
I was like, this is a hot mess right here.
It's
Mhm.
hard though. I feel like I kind of had the same reaction to the last time there was actually somebody talking about it. And it's hard to balance trying to correct them and say, no, not quite,
Yeah.
because I don't know, because I don't want people to not talk about it.
Right.
It's
How do you find that balance, right? Like,
Yeah. I don't know. That's kind of the complicated part of telling anybody about it or raising any kind of awareness, because it's such a more complicated thing than that.
yeah.
Like, I don't know if you guys find this, but just in my personal life, trying to explain it to somebody
Oh,
has that kind of feel to it where I'm like, okay, I don't really have a short way of explaining what this is to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult because people just look at you like, what?
Yeah, because 99% of the time they've never heard of it to begin with. And so you're trying to explain this thing that it's hard.
Can I
So,
talk about working and trying to have a job and some of the issues with TS? Like, because for me, I have struggles when it comes to work, and it frustrates me to no end that I constantly, because I'm like, can I just have a job where I can feel like I can go in and do my job and not feel like a complete idiot? And I'm not, but I do. And so I've always had issues when I'm, and it translated in math when I was learning math in school, translated into when I started working, where especially, okay, when I'm trying to read something and I'm typing at the same time. So I would say like executive functioning a little bit, like when I'm typing fast or trying to read fast and I'm trying to type, the things that sometimes the details that I find that I wind up accidentally miss frustrate me. And sometimes that has caused problems for me when it comes to my job. Missing details sometimes. And I
yeah,
don't know if I'm the only one, but
no, I think for me, I'm very ambitious when it comes to my multitasking.
mhm,
More ambitious than I should be. So that's the multitasking thing for me. I think I can more than I can. Like I can a little bit, but not as much as I give myself credit for, and I try to do.
yeah.
yeah,
So then my mind is
yeah.
just split between too many things. And yeah, stuff falls through the cracks, and I'm super hard on myself, so that doesn't help.
That's what
Yeah.
I was
I'm
gonna
hard on
say.
myself too. Yeah.
I mean, it's like we're like, you're like, oh, they're gonna know we're different. Like there's something wrong with me. Why can't I be like them? Even though we're
Yeah.
really not that different. I think we're just extra hard on ourselves because we know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a job as a pharmacy tech where, I have to do a lot of multitasking because I could be working on one thing and then, I requesting else from a pharmacist. So I have to stop doing what I'm doing. Like I could be sending out refills and then I get a request to like fax something out for somebody. Or, to fax a request to the doctor, to a patient's doctor or something. And like right now where I'm in a situation where we're really short, it's coming from like multiple pharmacists that we're covering and trying to, and so sometimes like in those situations it's easy for me to see things that kind of fall through the cracks on that because I'm being pulled in these different directions. I'm trying to keep up and I'm trying to focus on this, but then I got to do this,
Hmm.
and then it becomes a whole struggle. And it's just caused a situation, and yeah, it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I'm not the only one that has had issues where things have gotten missed. But I feel like now, I don't know, but this is just my feeling. Unfortunately, I don't have I mean, like I have a little bit where I feel like I could kind of back it. But I feel like I'm being the one being singled out.
Huh.
And I have tried to communicate with my boss and above her, you know, trying to explain how I can work best and do the job. But it just, to get understanding, I don't feel like I have that. And
Oh, that's frustrating.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I want to
Yeah.
commend you, Andrea, because I used to be a pharmacy tech before I was a nurse, and I know, I know the structure because, we did refills, we made IVs, and everything had to be
Mhm.
checked by a pharmacist. So you feel
Yeah.
like you're being critiqued over everything. So I know exactly what.
yeah, yeah,
That kind of feeling of you're being watched over your shoulder is not, especially when I already have a tendency to like hyper look at the things I'm doing wrong. So it's not like I need that help noticing I'm doing something
Mhm.
wrong or something was wrong. And add that to something that you feel a little uneasy with to begin with, like me in math. If somebody was watching over me all of those times in retail, I was doing cash register. It already was an anxiety attack doing cash register for me. Having
Yeah.
somebody
Mhm.
like paying that close of attention, that'd be so stressful.
Well, and that's their job, is to double check. So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
honestly what they're there for, not to.
Yeah, I feel an impact. It's hard to explain to somebody how I process things. Like, I can get to the same conclusion, but how I do it might be different.
Mhm.
And you know,
Hmm.
I may have a system that works for me, that gets me there, but trying to explain that and have them understand is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
I think that's been the only way I really understood the whole executive function thing. Because when I first heard that, I didn't really understand what that meant because I didn't feel any different. I didn't like, I was still able to do everything.
Yeah.
But I notice a lot when I'm doing something where either it's more obscure type things that I have to try to picture in my head, or it's math.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah. Uh-huh.
I notice it, and that is probably the biggest way I feel different, but it does give you that feeling. So I
Mhm.
don't know if you guys have had that, but I don't know, it almost is just like simpler, like just I don't want to have to explain what's happening in my mind right now,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
it'll
Yeah,
get
it's hard to.
You know, I find myself like double and triple checking. That is, I don't know about you guys, but I'm like, it's not like obsessed, you know, it's not to that, but like I see my other coworkers and my nurses and stuff, they're gonna double check, everything with their patients, but just me as a person, I find myself like looking at my charts like a couple times, like, okay, there's a handful of times when I know in my heart that everything is good the first time, but I just like second guess, third guess myself, and I just find myself like checking stuff like multiple times, and I'm like, huh.
yeah.
I'm a
That's
director,
what
and
causes
I
me
have to.
problems too, because I do that. When
But
I
everything
enter,
is
like when I'm
fine.
entering something in, I do that because I want to make sure that it's right.
Yeah,
And so in doing that, when I hyper focus like that, if I actually do that, I'm pretty accurate. But the
right.
problem is, then I'm not as fast
Yeah.
as they want me to be, because I'm taking extra time to double and triple check.
Yeah.
And so I don't go as fast as everybody
Uh,
else, and it frustrates me because I want to, and when I try to, then that's when I'm not checking, then that's when I miss things.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a
Mhm.
director and I have 15 employees under me, and I still sometimes feel like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, oh yeah, I'm the boss. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
I'm second guess myself all the time.
Well, I know I get asked all the time advice on how to talk to a boss or a teacher about those whatever it is that we struggle with. Like everybody has differences on what that looks like, but like how do you tell a teacher or a boss that you struggle with math or whatever?
Mhm.
And I feel like I have very limited practical tips besides you just got to be really communicative. Like
Yeah.
be straightforward. My jobs I've had have not, I mean, besides being blunt about I suck at math, don't make me do it without a calculator. Um
Yeah.
there hasn't been much in the jobs I've had so far that I've had to majorly explain. So I don't
Yeah.
know if you guys have like different things you've done or tried that have kind of helped somebody understand in that scenario.
Well, no, I think at work they don't even pretty much that they're like, you have Turners, like they don't even know, my even all my nurses and stuff. They're like, oh, okay, being in the medical field, they're like, oh, they're kind of familiar, but they were like, you're just Dana, which was good, you know. But another thing is when they have me train somebody, I'm like, oh my gosh, because I'm like a machine sort of. I clock in and then I just go to town on on my job. But if I have to train somebody, and I have to really verbalize like every little thing because they don't know, they're learning, and it's just like I just get by the end of that shift, I'm just so exhausted because it's like I'm drained because I've had to like explain every little thing, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, you're training today, and I'm like, oh man, because I'm just so used to like doing my thing, like focus.
Mm.
Have you had the experience, any of you? Because I am not in it. Well, psychology is not in a medical field in the exact same way, but you guys are all in some kind of medical field and I am not. Does being in that and having hopefully that little bit of foreknowledge for those around you for what Turners might be, has that been helpful or has that come into play at all?
I mean, I think
With
it's been helpful.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
I
Sometimes
see
it's
that being an advantage, that it would be a kind of leg up on hopefully helping explain.
Mm-hmm. Well, with me, they're learning, with my recent medical stuff, like, my anemia, and because I've been at my hospital for 6 years already, and I've been fine. They haven't really, I've just been doing my thing, and they're not really concerned, like the only time I call in is like with weather, and you know what I mean? So, but recently they're really, because I told my boss, oh, I had to have a transfusion, and it just kind of, the recent events really it shined some light, on me, and they're kind of like, oh, they're not really worried about me, but especially now because everything is fine, all my testing came back, but it kind of surprised everybody because they're like, oh man, Dana's got some issues, you know what I mean, after all these years, because I wasn't really like needy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but they're like, oh, okay. They're just kind of like, what's going on with you? Because it's all new, it was kind of like there's been nothing, and then like boom, and so my coworkers are like, oh snap. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. They're like, you never miss work, and they were worried, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh. So, but I think it kind of shined a little bit of light. They're like, we'll keep tabs on you, make sure you're good. I'm like, yeah, I'm fine.
Speaking of
Huh.
COVID, I just wanted to, have you guys, any of you guys got your shot?
No.
Haven't yet.
I don't think, I don't actually know if that's available for, like, if Turner's qualifies me for it
Right.
here or not. I'm not sure.
Oh, that's interesting. If it, huh?
Because I know
I
in
had
New
my
England-
second dose 2 weeks ago. So
So how did that go for you? Did it go good?
yeah, the first one, well, I got the Moderna. The first one was fine. I just had a really, really sore arm, kind of like get a tetanus shot, but it was probably like 50 times worse. But all I had was a sore arm. Now the second dose, my arm really hurt and it even turned a little red, and I just kind of felt really achy and sick, and I slept all day the next day. And then by the next day, I was fine. 24 hours. I didn't even spike a fever or anything like that. But I had some coworkers that had spiked the fever and everything like that, but it was gone within 24 hours. So, and it's been 2 weeks today since I had my second dose. So far, okay.
That's good. Yeah, I'm not
I
sure.
have a friend who's
There are some places that I've seen just in the groups, people discussing who's had it, who is waiting, who, are you qualified for it where you are? In some places, Turner's can qualify you for it. Others, I don't think so.
I can qualify for it because I can get ahead through work since I'm in the healthcare field. They've opened it to like non-patient facing healthcare providers. So they're allowing us to schedule and take like about an hour or whatever off, and we can go get our shot. So it's just a matter of getting mine scheduled. But also being diabetic puts me a little bit ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had a friend who, which I think I might wind up for me, like if I get my second, I'm gonna try and do like a Friday where if I don't
That's
feel
what we did.
great,
Yep,
yeah,
exactly
I can
what we did.
just sleep and chill the next day. But I have a friend who also is a healthcare worker, and she got her second shot. The first one, she felt fine other than having the sore arm, but second one, she did feel a little achy and kind of flu-like. So I think the second one, yeah.
Definitely do it on a Friday.
Some people haven't been, yeah.
I'm on the fence. I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. So have you guys come into contact with COVID much where you're working?
It's pretty rampant where I work in Southeast Kansas. I mean, in facilities and stuff like that. I personally don't go into facilities, but my staff do. So, protecting not only our patients, because we take care of hospice patients, but protecting ourselves as well. So
Yeah.
I think it's getting a lot better now that they're starting to vaccinate patients and stuff like that in facilities. But it was pretty bad for a while.
They just at my main hospital, they actually closed all COVID stuff down. They closed up shop. They're good. I mean, we're at like 2% of like, there's maybe 15 to 20 patients in the whole hospital. So our numbers are if anybody trickles in that has, COVID or whatever, they're not even going to the wing that they specifically built for that. They are okay just going to the ICU, stuff like that. So, which is great.
Yeah, it seems like things are starting to finally, I don't know, knock on wood.
Yeah.
Things are starting to try to work itself out now.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
How have you guys been doing mentally with all of this?
It's tough.
There's been a
I'm waiting
lot.
for the day that there's no more masks. I'm over the masks. I'm used to it. It's like, it's part of life now, but I'm like, Okay. There has to be a day. There has to be a day where I don't have to, wear masks anymore.
I never thought I'd hear my kids say, when the coronavirus is over, can we do this or can we do that? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you guys feel like this, but I've honestly had moments where I felt a little angry because I feel like it has taken a year of our lives away.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's made me mad. And it's made me mad for people with kids too, that I mean, you're talking about a year of a kid's childhood, and this had to be altered and changed, and in some cases like really hindered because you can't do some of the activities that normally you'd be able to like let them do, sports or things like that. And um that has been frustrating. I mean, it's opening up a little bit, and I am, being in Kansas is a little more open
Mhm.
than some states. And I was able to do Taekwondo, um, although very different. We did it through Zoom, and like I would do classes through Zoom in my living room. So it was just me. Um, and it was good in the fact that it kind of gave me a little bit of sense of some normalcy and also physical activity, which kind of helped me mentally um, keep up, not totally lose myself. But it's also very different getting to train in class than it was on Zoom. I'm someone that I need to be in class. I need to be able to be with my peers and train alongside them. It's sometimes hard to like totally get the things, the drills and all that um, he is trying to teach for me, like through Zoom. It's a completely different experience. So he was able to open it back up. And so now we've been in class able to go in person for a little bit, but it's really interesting trying to train and spar when you're wearing a mask. So I will be thankful for the day where I can train again without having to do a mask, because the amount of cardio it takes to spar normal can sometimes be a lot. Doing it with a mask, different challenge,
Yeah.
because it definitely hinders oxygen and breathing a little bit, especially when you're doing high cardio. So yeah, that's been an adjustment, but trying to do it, I told Mr. Leopard, I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to do this, because my cardio is very different, because I do have heart defect, and I'm like, I really don't like having something hamper my breathing. And but working my way through it. But yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I have like my favorite mask only
Hmm.
because it doesn't take over my whole face.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom works for State Farm, and they got given masks, and I was like, can I have one? And she was like, okay. So she gave me that one, but then her coworker gave her these really pretty pleated, like the folded floral ones that are much prettier than the gray muted tone State Farm one. So that one's pretty, but it unfolds on its own, just takes a mind of its own and takes over my whole face, and then I can't see. So me and masks have had a little bit of a fight in that regard. But
Yeah.
besides the normal, like I'm already really good at not getting out like I should. Um, we got our foster certification literally a month before everything shut down.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everything shut down. So ever since it's been, I haven't actually done a video about it. So I guess this could be the update on it. Once again, there's no update.
Yeah, just because there's
So
everything
has
is
that the whole like process is paused or stalled for you
paused.
guys?
Well, so we're still open and available, and they're still doing what they can, but intake is down because kids aren't in school, nothing's being reported. So couple that with we're certified for a difficult age group anyways, and there's been nothing. So that was really disheartening after going through that whole fight to finally finish everything and then have the world shut down and right as we finished it. That was
What's your age range?
0 to 2.
We started with 0 to 4, and it is hard. I mean,
Yeah.
we went 9 months before we got a call. I mean, and our last 2 that we're hopefully going to adopt, they've been in care almost 3 years. Well, Amaya's almost 3.5. We've had her since she was 5 months. And it's taken forever just because of court shutting down and everything like that. So
Yeah.
The waiting is the worst part.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's I think if we hadn't had such a long start, it wouldn't have been so difficult to then have this happen. But it's like this is tacking on to the already 3 years it took for us to get to this point.
Yeah, I would be so frustrated.
Yeah, I would be by trying to be patient. So
yeah,
that's the most frustrating part of this whole thing, was that timing. Like, couldn't have at least happened after we got our first one.
And I don't know about your state, but I know in Missouri, they've done away with, they don't take a lot of babies right out of the hospital anymore.
they don't.
They give them a safety plan. They give them a safety plan, and they're able to take, even if they test positive or whatever the case is. They're now giving them safety plans and options to take their baby home before just automatically taking them into custody.
Wow. That's interesting. So as far as I know, that hasn't changed here. They still, like, I don't think it's still not a long-term thing. It's they're gonna go stay with someone else while we figure out what's going on here. So they'd be an emergency placement, but as far as I know, that hasn't changed, because I was still hearing stories from some of the other families at our agency we were able to meet. I was still hearing stories of them picking them up at the hospital and everything. So yeah, it just has become like crickets for everybody. And it's not like, I was calling around trying to figure out things like, is it our area? Is it like, is this everywhere? And I mean, within California, probably, yes. That's a difficult age range anyways, which we already knew. But then the only age group that wasn't affected for consistently getting reports on everything was like teenage boys. And the other age groups were much less reporting. So, and that's just, I mean, yes, it's frustrating for us because we were so excited we finally finished, and we were really excited, and then that happens. But then it's also just, I think that's the saddest part of the whole effect of this for me, is thinking of the safety of those kids that aren't getting things reported that should be, and like that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I think that breaks everybody's heart. I mean, I know our agency workers, it's frustrating for them too.
Yeah. It's just like, what happened? What was last year? What the heck happened?
I know.
What the heck?
Yeah, I couldn't wait for it to be over
Mm-hmm.
at like the beginning of the summer. I was like, next year.
Yeah.
And as we crept closer to this year, it's like, I guess maybe not.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I think
It's
this
gonna
year is a
happen.
carryover of last year. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know that it's gonna be, I mean, I'm hoping that it's gonna be, you know, a better year, but
I think the things that are changing that'll help are still going to take time
mhm,
to,
Yeah.
to
yeah,
help. So
yeah.
now I'm kind of curious, talking about COVID, what have you guys felt like what was your initial response as somebody with Turner's and as somebody with something that could put you, and I mean, it might be a debated topic whether we're more at risk or not. My immune system kind of, I feel like, puts me in that part because it sucks. But how did you guys initially react to that? Did you feel like more concerned, or what were your thoughts?
My
I
thought
think
was that they didn't really know what the heck. It was a big old mystery. And at first I was like, well, maybe it's not that serious. And yeah. And then with the media, I didn't know who to believe. Hourly stories were changing.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't even know what to think anymore. It's like it was too much of a emotional roller coaster because you feel hope, and then like you see something on TV or online or whatever, like completely like deflating any hope, and then it's like, and you're back up and up. So I can't, that roller coaster. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I go, they just need to figure it out, and there's so many unanswered questions, or you know what I mean? I don't know.
I think for me it was the nurse in me. I wasn't even worried about myself. I was like, what if I give it to my kids? What if I give it to my staff? What if they give it to patients? Like
Hmm.
I wasn't even worried about myself. My mindset was like, I don't want to spread it to anybody. I don't want anyone to get sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like um one, it was a lot of confusion at the beginning. And I think trying to process what in the world is going on. So, you know, part of me initially was taking it seriously. And because, I mean, yes, I wanted to for me to take it seriously for my health, but also, you know, I didn't want to see somebody um around me get sick, or me maybe help be a factor in somebody getting sick if it's that highly transmissible. And so, I'm trying to go along and do what they're suggesting, but I also began to feel like and get frustrated because I felt like, do they think we're just like yo-yos or something? Because first it's like it was a don't worry about it, a less serious kind of tone to the communication, and don't worry about it, you don't need to wear a mask, you can still go places as more and more things start getting shut down. But the message that different people were saying, like some were like, do this, or no, it's okay, go here, you know um Dr. Fauci even like, don't worry about mask at first, and so it's like mask, no mask, even today, oh, okay, to mask. um so I'm like, is it highly transmissible? Is it not? Like, I'm like, I'm not a yo-yo that you can, like, what do we do? I'm like, I'm trying to give grace to the fact that, okay, this is a whole new thing, and and people are trying to get their heads around it and figure out what this thing is. But at the same time, I'm like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating. I was trying to be cautious, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to just be fearful. I have to try and be balanced. I have to try and just have some kind of normalcy too. And through all the craziness, and find a way to try and just be as smart as I can. And but, oh my gosh, it's been
Yeah.
it's
I
been
think for
crazy.
me, it was frustrating in the beginning trying to figure out, okay, is because I had several people either posting in groups or commenting on my videos saying, does Turner's make you more susceptible? Are you more at risk? And I didn't know how to answer that myself. So trying to figure that out at first, I was like, okay,
Mhm.
what are the odds that I'm going to get this? Because it wasn't
Mhm.
where it got to at that point. It was nowhere near where it got to at that point. And then I thought, oh, wait,
Yeah.
it's me. I'm definitely getting this if I come into contact with it because I get everything. And so then it was just like, that part was frustrating because I didn't know, like, am I in a normal group or am I not? What does
Yeah.
that even mean?
Yeah.
There's so many questions. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the frustrating part is every state had different regulations, and I live in
yeah.
Missouri but work in Kansas, so I'm like, okay, what am I doing? Like,
Yeah,
you know
there's
what I mean?
that too.
Like, if everyone was on the same page, then maybe, but it was very difficult.
Yeah, even within California, I mean, there's certain things that are statewide, but countywide was a whole other thing too.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was more on the open side, less on the open side, like
Uh,
that changed drastically sometimes outside of the Bay Area. It was much more diverse than in the Bay Area because in the Bay Area, everything was done, closed down.
wow.
And um, yes, that was, wait, where am I? What are the rules here? What are we doing?
Right.
What?
Well, that's what it was like here
I'm in this
too.
county. What do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like
So,
in Kansas City, Missouri, in the city on the Kansas side or on the Missouri side in Kansas City, there's different regulations. It depends too on like the particular mayor and
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
because I don't know that just because we have Turner syndrome that in
We're more
itself may
susceptible.
make us more
yeah.
susceptible. But I know my immune system, and I know I am more susceptible. And part of it too is because my mom gets like virus, my mom gets colds and all that kind of stuff easily. And so when I get a cold, it often turns to bronchitis. I get more severe colds and things like that. So I can catch a respiratory virus pretty easily. So
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, okay, well, if it's that serious, then I take it, seriously. But I mean, I do masks and stuff like that, but I'm not as concerned personally. But I do get concerned. Yeah, I really feel like TS or not, it's just important to know your own immune system and make the good choices accordingly, which is what I try to do. And I know that I'm more susceptible. So, I try and be careful because of that. Um, I think we're coming out of a place where I mean I'm not as concerned as more time has gone on with therapeutics and with vaccine coming. But I know that, with, and she's the only one that I've heard, but with Cassie, what happened with Cassie, that is sad. And, that's what when I'm talking with the girls here, that, yeah, I just think it's really important to assess and know where you're at. Because some people, some of the girls have pretty strong immune systems and hardly are ever sick, hardly get anything. But, like I'm dealing with, sinuses now because of how the weather changes. I'm someone that like, when the weather shifts, I get sick because of the weather shifts. And I was doing a little bit with allergies now because of the shift that we're having. That makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of the conclusion I ended up coming to was you know yourself, and there's a definite difference between Turner syndrome and what symptoms you have. We know that. There's no guarantee of what the list of possibilities are going to actually equate to for you. So yeah, Turner syndrome in and of itself is one thing, but what you personally deal with is a whole other. Now I lost my train of thought.
He's saying wear your mask and wash your hands. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Yes. So it came
Pretty
down
much.
to, we know that, like I know for me, I think I even said in my video I did on it, like I catch anything and everything I come into contact with. Somebody doesn't have to sneeze at me. They have to look at me. And if they have a cold, I'll get it. Like,
Oh man.
my immune system is awful. So I know for me, that means I should be careful. Like, be aware, keep yourself informed. That doesn't have to equate to panic.
Right.
And there's a difference.
Find the balance. Find the balance.
Yeah.
But don't let it consume you. I was determined not to let it like consume. I'm like, I'm gonna be 40 in July, and it's like I've lived almost 40 years. I've been fine. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not gonna let this consume me.
Yeah. That's what I felt too.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've made it this far. I have 2 genetic heart defects that I've to this point survived living with. And I'm like, I'm pretty stubborn. I mean, to be here, you have to be pretty like hard fighter. So for us, so I'm like, am I gonna let Corona take me out?
I got something interesting when I got my echo just recently. The guy that was doing it, he wasn't a doctor. He was like imaging maybe, or whoever does the echoes. But he was like, so don't be so quick to think that just because you have bicuspid valve, he goes, that's automatic Turner's. He said, he's like, I go, have you heard of Turner's? He goes, a little bit. So I was like, okay, going back to that, we get that a lot. Oh, I know a little bit. I've heard of it, But he's all, don't be so quick to think that it's just because of Turner's. I was like, oh, I hadn't heard that before, Yeah. I mean, I don't know how to take that, if he just could have been like BSing me, but I don't know. I was like, oh.
That's another thing for me, and trying to know what for me personally is Turner's versus I would have had
something else,
some level or version of it anyways, because so much, and this is just me personally, my family medical history, there's so many overlaps between possibilities with Turner's and my family medical history. I'm surprised I don't have more of the complications because I've got double dipping on it being likely. So some of it, I can easily say when I'm talking to my mom, her favorite thing to do is be like, well, I deal with that too, and I don't have it though. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that's fair. I mean, I would have been short either way.
Yeah.
Maybe not to this level, but I wouldn't also have been like basketball player status. So
Yeah.
My family is tall. I would
really,
be tall. Yeah. Yeah. Most of my family, they're 6 feet and over.
I probably was supposed to be like maybe 5'4", probably be like meshing my mom and dad together with their heights. I have a sister that's 5'4". I have a sister that's 5'2". So I was probably going to be, I don't know, I'm just guessing, maybe 5'4"-ish, whatever,
yeah.
I think I would probably be somewhere between like 5'8" and 5'10". Probably. It depends. But I take more after my mom's side of the family. So that's why I say that, because my dad wasn't very, like, my biological father wasn't very tall. He wasn't like short, but I think he was like, I don't know, 5'9"-ish, maybe somewhere around there. So not like tall, like on my mom's side of the family, the guys that are 6 feet and over.
So I don't know if I was meant to be 5'4" because I took the growth hormone and that's what I was meant to be, or I would have been taller. But I mean, my family's not very tall. I'd say my mom was 5'7", my dad was maybe 5'10", 5'11". So
The heart stuff. I have up to this point had all of the scans look normal. There was an experience I had though where I got it very, very impressed upon me that could change at any second. Even though it had been great this whole time. And I'm kind of interested in hearing, because I think, Dana, I don't know if I've heard your recent experiences, and Lindsey, I know you were talking about sharing yours. So I don't know if you want to share that now and kind of talk about what's been happening. Yeah.
So I've seen a pediatric cardiologist my entire life. So I've always known that I had the aortic stenosis. And they've always said, eventually, I mean, when I was 2, they were like, oh, she'll have to have open heart surgery. And they just kept pushing it off and pushing it off. I've never really had any symptoms or anything like that. So I was just monitored by a cardiologist, and they did echoes and said everything was fine. They'd say it was like moderate. But 2016, I got my last echo, and they said my aortic stenosis was at 0.9 millimeters. And then, of course, me not doing the things I should, I hadn't gotten echoes since. And so I went in October. So that was 4 years later. And my stenosis, I went from 0.9 to 0.5. And he said, this is concerning. I want you to have a heart cath. Because I think it's time that you probably need some interventions and need that aortic valve replaced. So I went and got the heart cath a couple weeks later, and they said that the pressures in my heart, more normal pressures are supposed to be 10. Mine were like in the 90s, that my heart is just working overtime to compensate. And so I went to meet a surgeon in the town I live in. And they told me that I had to get like cardiac measurements and stuff like that just to see where I was, because they said I could possibly be a candidate for the TAVR, which is where they go through your groin. They don't even have to open you up. But when they did the measurements and everything like that, they found out that my aorta is also enlarged. So I think it was a 4.5. And then what they worry about is that pressure increases and it causes your aorta to enlarge. And once it gets to 5 millimeters is when it could possibly rupture. So that's gonna need replaced as well. So that is when I sent the message to Andrea, and I was like, I think I need a second opinion, because they were telling me that oh, you're young, we're just gonna wait till you're symptomatic, till you're, having chest pain, swelling and stuff like that. We'll just monitor it. We'll do another echo in 3 months. And I'm like, that's scary, because then you're talking to me about sudden cardiac death, and now you're saying we'll just wait. So I was like, if I'm going to do this,
Mm-mm.
I want to go somewhere good and where they can tell me, okay, this is what we're doing. Not just, well, let's just wait. So, and I finally got an appointment. So I'm going Wednesday.
That's
But I have a feeling
good.
I'm eventually, yeah, I'm going to have to do the full open heart surgery. But I've come to the conclusion I'm going to fight this and we're going to get it done. So,
You go, girl.
yes.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to advocate for yourself.
And I have no
Yeah.
symptoms. Like I'm not short of breath. I don't have any chest pain. So that's the thing that scares me too. Like they're gonna do all this and I'm gonna have even more symptoms. So.
Yeah. So the appointment Wednesday, you'll kind of find out more as far as how soon you might have to have the surgery.
Right. They're gonna do another echo right before my appointment. So they're gonna kind of see if anything has changed in the last 3 months since October when I had my last one. And then I'll meet with the surgeon right after. So that'll be good.
Okay.
And it's a good
Hmm.
hospital. So
That's good. That
Yeah.
is, oh my gosh, I don't think I realized, because where I grew up, we had so much teaching in the hospitals. And I love that. I think that that is like, teaching hospitals have always been the best for me.
and
And
that's this one I'm going to. It's a teaching hospital.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yep.
but there's just, I did not know what I had because it's so valuable. So, Dana,
Mm-hmm.
what has been going on for you?
Basically, it's everything came back good. Um, he said that I probably won't have anything. I'm good 3 to 5 years. He said for anything heart, unless there's something that comes up. So we didn't do we did EKG and echo.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And everything. Everything looks beautiful. He said.
That's good.
So. Mm-hmm. Yep. There's no drama at all. So, and actually, I hadn't gotten a workup since I was like a baby, so I was due, and my NP nurse practitioner, she's the one that wanted me to get, the workup, and I was like, I know I'm due, so, and with this anemia thing, she just wanted to cover all bases and stuff, so.
So they still don't know what caused your anemia?
Nope. Nope, nope, nope. And that is a major, I mean, that was major. I had only like a quarter of blood that I should have had. And I'm chalking that up to Turner's too, I guess, but yep, for it to get that low and for me to be, have no symptoms at all. I'm like, I'm the typical puzzle, like I get a lot of doctors shaking their heads, man. So, yep. So I get labs. I'm on a lab. I'm gonna get labs every 3 months. So
Okay.
just, yeah, that's my little regimen that I'm gonna be on for a while. So I'm like, I could do that. So
That's good.
yeah.
I think I am more overdue than I realized for all of my testing. COVID kind of got me off track with it.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I've still been in contact, so they know. But the biggest one I'm worried about is my hearing test.
Oh.
I'm nervous. They're probably going to this time tell me, yeah, it's time. You don't have any more time to wait. And I'm like, okay.
But you'll be so glad once you do it.
I
Yeah.
will. I will.
Yeah.
And I'm going to apply for the Leaping Butterflies scholarship. So hopefully that'll help.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, she confirmed when I did my first test that I have no insurance that'll help cover it. So
They don't. Yeah, I had to pay out of pocket for both of mine, so I just got my second set.
Have you guys heard of any like anemia issues being, tied with Turner's? Anything, like severe anemia? Like, I don't know. I hadn't heard that. I didn't know if that was part of it or not, but I didn't really hear anybody else being attached with that, having that.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything specifically before, but I'm never surprised
I
at
know. With things.
something new that can, because just
Yeah.
the nature of it, it can affect the whole, like it could literally affect any part of you. It just
Yeah.
depends on what, this is my very limited understanding. It depends on what those cells become
Yeah.
for
What
what.
cells are affected?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why everybody can be affected so differently.
Mm-hmm. And my thing, thyroid too. You guys probably don't have much thyroid issues. I have the thyroid issues too.
I do
And that
too.
might
I'm
not,
on 200 micrograms, so I'm on a high dose.
Yeah. I'm on 125. Yeah.
I haven't had the thyroid issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine's
And
been
I'm
okay.
celiac as well.
Oh yeah, celiac.
I have not been brave enough to ask for the testing to confirm.
Aw.
But I kind of feel like I probably am borderline, possibly. They did the blood test version, and then after I was reading all about how that could be inaccurate, and that doesn't
Yeah, mine was inaccurate. Yeah, I didn't test positive for celiac until they did the colonoscopy with biopsy.
I don't want to have to do it, but I'm afraid that I may have to go that route because, I mean, I'd like to think I don't have it. I was tested a couple times. The blood work doesn't, but I'm just like, yeah.
I just haven't been brave enough to think about doing the colonoscopy.
It's not, but it's not that bad. I know.
No,
I just had to do mine. I just had to do mine, man, and
That's
it's not that bad. Yeah.
So,
and actually, the way for colonoscopy, the clean out, how they have you do it now, it's a lot less abrasive. It's not as crazy as people say it is.
The test
and I went to sleep.
Go through.
I know. Well, yeah. Well, I had all this just happened like within 2 months. It was just like bam. I was all these years was like hardly anything. It was just labs. And then if I hadn't gotten that phone call, from my nurse practitioner saying you're not going to work, you're going to ER. You have no blood. I was like, oh, okay. Let me call my work. But if it hadn't been for that, they said that it could have led to seizures if my levels had gotten even worse. Severe anemia, it could lead to seizures, I guess. I was like, oh wow. She's like, so please go. I'm like, I'm going.
Yeah.
Scary.
And she called me in the ER too. I got a phone call from my nurse practitioner. She goes, are you sitting in ER? You better be in the ER. And I'm like, I'm here. Yes.
That's awesome that she was really sure.
Yeah, she was freaking out, and I was like, well, as she should have, because she had never, she's still learning. She doesn't know much about Turner's, so I'm a challenge for sure for her, challenging case. So when she's seen whatever level, she's like, oh, okay. So
I had in August, I had I think most of the blood levels you can even take. And
yeah.
gave me a very good, precise picture of what was going on. And it was
Mhm.
worth doing. I mean, they took like 4 or 5 vials. It was worth doing just to know.
Yeah.
Because the screenings are good, like doing the echoes, doing the hearing tests,
Yeah.
the normal blood work that you would do. Although my hormone levels weren't being taken on a regular basis. Like, I think the first time it was taken was when we were doing fertility testing.
Hmm.
And that I feel like would have been helpful to have been in a regular routine of having,
Mm-hmm.
even if just to see what my medicine were doing to my levels. Screenings are good. They're not
Yeah.
always fun,
Yeah.
but they're good. I think my least favorite was the cardiac MRI.
Mm,
That
I've
was
never
my
done
least
that.
favorite.
Yeah, I haven't had to do that.
it's not fun.
Hmm.
I did the CT with contrast, and that was not fun either.
Yeah.
So like you're just gonna pee your pants.
Oh.
The first time I had a cardiac MRI done, I was about to crawl out. I was doing everything I could to maintain my composure, but I was in there nearly an hour while they were doing all the scans because they did about like 30 to 40-ish minutes, about 30 to 45 minutes worth of the scans without the contrast. Then they put the contrast in and they do some additional scans. And I was doing okay for a little bit. I had music going because they let me listen to music.
Oh.
Well, I've had two where I've actually had to go into the MRI machine. And the second one, I got to listen to music, and it helped for a little while. And but by the end, oh my gosh, I was about to just, I was wanting to crawl out. I mean, the noise that that makes is just like, I can't do it. I can't
Yeah.
do it anymore.
The hardest
Oh.
part for me was I could close my eyes, which helped a little bit. I mean, you're not seeing how
Mm.
close to your face the machine is,
Yeah.
but the noises and not being able to have, like, I didn't have the option for, I've had 2, I think.
Mm.
The first one, we did the dye. The second one, we didn't. But both of them, I had to listen for the prompts. So I had no option of tuning it out completely. And there was at one point where he pulled me out and he was like, "Are you okay? Do you need a break? Like, you've been in there a long time and you haven't asked for a break." Because they told me, if you need a break at all, let us know and we can pull you out for a few minutes. And I didn't, because I just was thinking the whole time, just get it done, just get it done, just get it done, and it'll be over with and you don't have to go back in. And I was like, no, I'm okay, just keep going. But it was, oh man, having to listen and not have any, like, I couldn't do any music or anything. It was, oh gosh.
My first one was like that, and the tunnel was actually dark, and so I was just trying to like relax a little bit and close my eyes to kind of go through it, but I'm like, I have to listen for the prompt, so I was trying to keep myself like engaged, but oh my goodness, that was even more difficult. um yeah, it is not fun. Oh my goodness, no. But the second one, at least I had music because when they give you the prompts, it would cut out the music. And so, you know,
Nice.
I could still hear them when they're listening for the prompts. But yeah, they were doing about 45 minutes, and then they came in, and they were putting the dye in. I'm like, are you kidding? Like, I'm like, how much longer? And they're like 15 more minutes. And it just felt like, I'm like, 15 minutes, 15 minutes. I was about ready to start crying. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't cry now. can't cry now, be calm.
Aw.
Oh my gosh, I was thinking, oh, how am I going to handle 15 more minutes of this? But yeah, I was doing good for a little while with the music. I'm like, this is better. And I was looking, like I would try and look out, have my head back enough where I could look out, and that helped me a little bit. But yeah.
I don't think it
Mm.
helped. I had never had an MRI for anything else before.
Mhm.
So that like I got the full experience for my first time. I was very excited in between the two that I've had when I had to have the MRI on my knee, that I was thinking, this is going to be horrible. Oh my gosh, I don't want to have to do this again, but we need this to know what's going on. And then he goes, "Oh, no, you don't have to go all the way in. We're just going to put you." And I'm like, "Yes, thank you." I was so excited that he didn't have to do all the way in.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited now because at KU they've started working with us, and we've created an adult clinic for Turner syndrome. So, and my cardiologist is the cardiologist that and sort of on the board of it, and so I go there now and just do all my scans when I'm there. And he what he does now is I do echo, but I also get it with contrast. So I don't have to go in the tunnel. I could just lay on the table while they do their thing, and they do the contrast as well. So, but it's so much easier to do that, and Dr. Mulhern has been good with that. So I've done that like the last couple years.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
That
he
is
had me do
awesome.
the MRIs the first few times because he really wanted to get an idea of the size and everything. And so the blood flow and the pressure and all of that. So now that he has built like all that imaging and everything, um, he gets what he needs from the echo. So I'm like, oh, thank goodness.
So what did yours show? What is he saying, that they're just gonna wait and watch, or what?
Yeah. So my I think the size of my narrowing is about 1.75 centimeters. Which is good from what he said. Um, and the blood flow still looks pretty good. He hasn't expressed any concern on pressure, even though I try with my blood pressure. I really kind of keep on him about that because it's my blood pressure is a major struggle. So figuring out what else is affecting my blood pressure and why it's high has been a challenge. But
What do you normally run?
my blood
Your
pressure,
blood pressure?
well, without my medication, it can go as high as 150, 160 easy.
Oh, wow.
Mhm. So,
I think that's why I've remained asymptomatic, because my blood pressure normally is runs like 110s over 70s. So I think that's probably one of the reasons that I haven't had any symptoms so far.
well, honestly, I don't know why I was asymptomatic either. I mean, maybe I did have symptoms and didn't realize it, but I mean, other than the high blood pressure, I had no pain or anything.
Okay.
Um, so, but as I started when I was in college, really getting high blood pressure. Mine always, while in high school, it was running a little high, but I just saw a primary. Like I didn't have an endocrinologist as I was transitioning into adult care, none of that. And I just saw a primary because I was like, I don't have a lot of, health issues. So I felt like, okay, seeing a primary is the way to go. And, you know, it was one of those things where, you know, I think is the biggest issue, especially for adult women. You know, I feel like, you know, there's a lot of good pediatric doctors that can treat TS girls. But the problem goes to when you transition to adult care, it's sort of like, congratulations, you're now an adult, you're responsible for your own care, and good luck with that. Advocate for yourself, it'll be fun. So I was like, oh, no problem. When you're early 20s and 20 something, you know, and your blood pressure is running 150, 160, and the nurse is taking your blood pressure and looking at you with eyes popping out of her head, like, why do you have blood pressure this high? Like, you think that would have bought me a ticket to an echocardiogram a long time ago? No. Nope. Never.
Yeah,
And
that's why
still,
I feel like so much of what I end up saying is you need to be very, like, as educated yourself as you can, and do not be scared to speak up to a doctor, because just because they're a doctor does not mean they've done extensive research into Turners. Extensive research is not guaranteed. There are plenty of doctors that have gotten just the very, very small basics and not gone any farther. And the farther is what you need.
Yeah.
There's the care guidelines, which is great. It's amazing. But even with that, every case can be so different. You take that, and then you also know I need to be aware of myself also.
Yeah. I had been feeling extra tight. You know, I'm just surprised that I was functioning with the severe anemia as much as I was. That was just crazy. But your body adapts, you know, in that situation. And I had noticed that I was like walking up the stairs and I would get winded, you know, when I was at my lowest before I went to the ER and all that. I was like, I'm not in that bad a shape. Jeez, you know, I'd be all huffing and puffing up and and then also towards the very end, I had noticed I was hearing kind of like a whooshing sound in my ear, and I'm like, but it was I think the artery that my nurse practitioner said, yeah, your artery, it was trying to pump blood. You know what I mean? Yeah, I was hearing like, it was like whoosh whoosh in my, it was kind of like air going through my ear, but that was pulse, you know, blood pressure issue. My BP was always fine. I never had any issues with blood pressure, but that was because I was so anemic. I could hear everything was working so much harder. And I was like, I'm like, what is that I'm like hearing in my ear? You know, and of course it's gone away. You know, everything is stabilized. But
yeah, that just goes to show you no symptom is too small to check on.
Yeah.
That was with my HRT. It was just my stomach hurt. You know, which, I mean, could have been a bunch of things, but I had an inkling that it was that. I mean, I made the correlation.
Yeah.
But it was a small thing. I could have easily brushed it aside and not known I was getting way more estrogen than I needed.
Yeah.
It's, gosh, it feels like a full-time job keeping track of all of it.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It really is. It definitely became one when I found out I had 2 genetic heart defects.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
But thankfully now, instead of having it every year, I can go every other year.
That's good.
Yeah. I'm good heart-wise. I'm good for, you know, and I've done the endoscopy, colonoscopy, so innards are fine. So with me just getting labs, it's just maintaining you know, my blood levels and iron. My body, it just was not, iron levels were like non-existent, and they're like, what the heck? So
Yeah.
that's just a random weird, that's mostly my issue. Kidney wise, you know, my kidneys, I have the horseshoe Turner's kidney that's typical. And function, liver function. I thought I told her, I thought of you, Brooke. I got my liver levels. Well, she'd be
Good
proud.
I did
Yeah.
not
And
know to be
everything came
concerned
back
about
good.
that one. It's
I go, oh, look at me getting my liver levels.
it's a trip. So many things I never thought I'd have to be concerned about.
Yeah.
I just and so many things that as I've gotten older, I didn't have to be concerned about when I was little. That whole age thing.
I know.
Not fun.
No. And
Yeah.
I feel like I turned 30, but it feels like I turned like 45 in
Oh.
how my bones feel because my it's not arthritis. I always go straight to that. It's the osteopenia, the pre-osteoporosis.
Mm.
That stuff's a trip.
Mhm.
Oh.
Because I mean, technically they're fine, but they crack like crazy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I haven't like actually asked about it, but I'm pretty sure that's probably why my bones crack the way they do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Getting old, man.
I don't even want to ask for a bone density right now. I'm like, I don't even want to throw that in.
I'm
That's
not
gonna be
trying to,
bad.
I don't
It's gonna
even
be
want to
bad.
touch
No.
that.
I'm already
No.
scared for my audiology test. I'm not throwing that into.
Yeah.
I'm not
Let's
throwing that
not.
in the ring. No. Yeah, that's opening a can of worms. No. That'll be next year, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, for me, after I get hearing aids taken care of.
One thing at a time.
I did buy
It'll
the
be
big,
so much better once you get it. It will.
I will. There have been so many times recently that I've been like, but I'm wishing I had them because right now I wish I could have
Aw.
like hear a lot better. I know it'll
Aw.
say it's worse. I can feel it's worse.
Aw.
And the suckiest part is having it in the frequency it's in because it's the one everybody talks in. So somebody's
Mhm.
trying to talk to me, and if something else is going on, I hear nothing. Or I hear something totally different that lands in really funny moments sometimes. And I thought
My issue is I can hear like with that when I don't have my hearing aids, I can hear like the first part of what people say, and then at the end it kind of trails off, and then I say what, and then they repeat the. I'm like, I got the first part. What was the last part you said? Like, say it louder.
yeah,
Aw.
I increasingly have stopped asking what after the second time because I don't want to have to explain, no, my hearings just sucks that bad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And but with Andrew, I can't do that. I can't do that with him, like stop asking what so I don't understand what he said, or just laugh and go, okay, and pretend like I heard and understood. So I'm like, I'm sorry. I got nothing.
I think my husband's gotten used to talking louder to me because sometimes I'm like, you don't have to yell. I'm right. He's like, well, I was just making sure you heard me. So, like, I can hear you.
I've had some loss, but it hasn't completely impacted my speech range. But I'm wondering what my next scan's gonna be like, or my next test's gonna be like, because you know, I feel like more and more I'm kind of maybe starting to notice some issues. But there was a little decline. I think it was about a year, 2 years ago when I had my last scan. There was a little bit of decline, but they said it wasn't in my speech range yet. So
Yeah.
hopefully we'll see what happens, but it'll be next year when I have all my scans.
Yeah, it was. I knew there was something. I knew it had gotten worse. I couldn't have told you what frequency that meant or anything, but I knew it had gotten worse. And then when she explained that's the frequency that people normally talk within, I'm like, oh, that's why conversations are the hardest. That's why that part is what's difficult and not other stuff. Because I can
Yeah.
hear the other frequencies fine. It's that one, which is function wise. Talk about having issues at work, trying to talk to somebody on the phone.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. That got so nerve wracking. To wrap things up and leave it on a happier note, then here's all the tests you get to have and all the complications you get to think about. Woohoo!
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of the Turner syndrome community, whether it's conferences, Facebook groups, retreats, walks, talking online, like
I'm almost done.
sharing story, whatever it could be? What would your favorite part be? And that'll be our goodbye.
I would say this, like, even just in this last year, I've met so many new people, and gotten to talk to a lot of people, and it's really made me feel so much better and feel like I'm not alone in this, and I can go to anybody for any questions or anything like that. That's what I like, and just being able to sit here and talk to people that know what I'm going through, it really
Yeah.
makes a difference.
Yeah.
I like the sisterhood. That's my favorite in communities like this.
Yeah.
I would say, you know, between all of it, like when you think about the walks or conference, that kind of thing, it does build a sisterhood. It builds a community, even like with the Facebook groups and stuff like that. I think the big thing is it does build community. You know, and it's great whether you have a question of something you might be going through, you know, like we were talking about, like COVID, you know, and being able to reach out and like, what do you think about this? Or how is this affecting you? Or if you just want to talk to somebody that understands, you have that community. And, you know, I've liked it because, you know, like with Lindsay, I was able to, you know, talk with her about KU and, you know, helping and getting a referral. And I got my cardiologist because I was able to seek out that advice from other, you know, TS sisters that worked with my cardiologist. So I was able to make a decision on someone that I knew that I could trust. And so I think that is the networking too that you're able to do between like in our community and be able to have those resources is so vital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think my favorite part is just that ability to swap stories and go, oh, you do? And actually
Yeah.
have them fully understand.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, there's
I
nothing like
love it.
so. Thank you guys so much. It was so great getting to talk. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. I know it's a lot later for you guys than it is
We're
for
gonna have to
me.
do this
I'm
again.
sorry.
It's Friday night. It's okay.
I know.
It was
Got nowhere to go.
awesome. It was so awesome to get to talk. And I look forward to hopefully more group discussions later, more to come on that. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
This was
Yes.
fun.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys. Have a good rest of your night.
All
Bye,
right. See you ladies
ladies.
later. Good night.
Bye.